Nietzsche talked about the three metamorphoses of the human consciousness. Nietzsche talked to a character named Zarathustra. Zarathustra divided the evolution of the consciousness into the three symbols: the camel, the lion, and the child. The camel is always ready to be enslaved, never rebellious. He cannot ever say no. He is a believer, a follower, and a faithful slave. Camel represents the lowest form of human consciousness. In the consciousness of the camel, there is always a need for someone to lead and someone to say to him, you should do this, you should not do this. He needs Bhagavad Gita to tell what is wrong or right, what is holy or unholy. He needs all the religions, all the priests, all the pope, all the political leaders. He reads all the holy scriptures because he cannot trust himself. A camel has no courage and he is very obedient. Nietzsche, speaking through the character of the Zarathustra, condemns the lowest form of human consciousness, that is camel. Zarathustra is not in the favor of the weak, in the favor of so-called humble. He is not in agreement with the Jesus that blessed are the meek, that is, blessed are poor. Blessed are the humble, for they shall inherit the kingdom of the God. Zarathustra is absolutely in favor of the strong spirit. He is against the ego, but he is not against the pride. Pride is the dignity of the man. Ego is a false entity and one should never think of them as equal. Nietzsche chose camel as the lowest form of the human consciousness, and he is perfectly right. Camel is always ready to be loaded with as much as burden possible. It rejoices in being loaded. It is happy. Camel is always happy that it is being loaded. So does the lowest human consciousness. Camel wants to be enslaved. It is afraid of freedom because it is afraid of the responsibility. As we know that freedom and responsibility are the parts of the same coin. If one cannot bear his responsibility, then freedom is not for him. And in this book, Camel, as a character of the lowest form of the human consciousness, is afraid of the responsibility. So, he is always loaded with a burden. This is the exact text from the book Thus Spoke Zarathustra by Nietzsche, and it goes like this. The weight-bearing spirit takes upon itself all these heaviest things, like a camel hurrying laden in the desert. Thus it hurries into the desert. But in the loneliest desert, the second metamorphosis occurs. The spirit there becomes the lion. The spirit of lion represents absolute freedom. Freedom from God, freedom from the holy books, and freedom from any kind of morality imposed by others. As we can see, many people who are rebellious to the religion and the government, they cannot say yes to everything like camel. A lion has pride and self-respect, and he says no to the authority. My brother, why is the lion needed in the spirit? Why does the beast of the burden that renounces and is reverent not suffice? Zarathustra is saying that your so-called saints are nothing but perfect camels. They have said yes to the dead tradition, dead conventions, dead scripture, dead gods, and because they are perfect camels, imperfect camels worship them. To create new values, even the lion is incapable of that. But to create itself freedom for new creation, that the might of the lion can do. The lion cannot create himself new values, but he can create the freedom, the opportunity in which new values can be created. And what are the new values? To create freedom for itself and scared not no even to duty, the lion is needed for that, my brothers. This is the text from the exact text from the book Thus Spoke Zarathustra. We all know that we have been continuously told that the duty is of a great value. In fact, it is a 4-letter or dirty word. If you love your wife because it is your duty, then you don't love. You love your duty. You don't love your wife. If you love your mother because it is your duty, you don't love your mother. Duty destroys all that is beautiful in man. Love, compassion, joy. People even laugh because it is their duty. Teachers want students to respect them because it is their duty. But tell me, my brothers, what can the child do that even the lion cannot? Why must the praying lion still become a child? The child in innocence and forgetfulness. a new beginning, a sport, a self-propelling wheel, a first notion, a sacred ass. As a sacred ass is needed, my brothers, for the sport of the creation. The spirit is now wills in its own will. The spirit surrendered from the old now wins its own old. I have named you three metamorphoses of the spirit. How the spirit became a camel, the camel a lion, and the lion and at last a child. As we know that the lion says no, but he cannot say yes. It is against his very nature. It reminds him of the camel. Somehow he has freed himself from the camel, and to say yes naturally reminds him again. The ass of the camel and the slavery. No, the animal in the camel is incapable of saying no. In the lion it is capable of saying no, but is incapable of saying yes. I have named you three metamorphoses of the spirit. How the spirit became a camel, and the camel a lion, and the lion at last a child. The child is the highest peak of evolution as far as consciousness is concerned, but the child is only the symbol. It doesn't mean the children are the highest state of being. A child is usually symbolical because it is not knowledgeable. It is innocent, and because it is innocent, it is full of wonder, and because its eyes are full of wonder, its soul longs for the mysterious. A child is a beginning, a sport, and a life should be always a beginning and always a playfulness, always a laughter and never seriousness. These three symbols are beautiful to remember, as we know that once you were a camel, and remember that you have to move towards the lion. The loneliest desert the camel travels creates the lion spirit, and remember that you don't have to stop at the lion. You have to move even further to a new beginning, to the innocence, and to the sacred ass, and to a child. The real sage again becomes a child. The real sage again becomes a child. The circle is complete, from the child back to the child. But the difference is great. The child as such is ignorant. He will have to pass through the camel, through the lion, and come back again to the child. And this child is not exactly the old child, because it is very not ignorant. It has moved through all the experience of the life, of slavery, of freedom, of impotent eyes, and yet it has to forgotten all that. It is not the ignorance but innocence. The first child was the beginning of the journey. The second childhood is the completion of the journey. In the days when Zarathustra was writing these statements in Iran, the Upanishad were being written, which has been have the same understanding. And the Upanishad, the Brahmin is one who comes to know the ultimate reality. Not by the birth is anybody a Brahmin, but only by knowing the Brahma, the ultimate reality is known. One becomes a Brahmin, and the name of Brahmin in Upanishad is twice born. The first born is of the body, and the second birth is of the consciousness. The first birth makes you human, the second birth makes you a god. Thus spoke Zarathustra.